The Nebraska Cornhuskers used to be one of the best teams in college football, but it's been a while since they've been at the top of this sport. Today, we add one superstar after every season we don't win a national championship to get them back to the top of college football. Now, in this series, we've had a couple of bad teams, and Nebraska looked a little bit better, but this still might take a little while. We finished the first year 8-5, and the rushing attack has been carrying us so far this season. Passing attack could use a little bit of help, especially at the quarterback position, and the offensive line could also use a couple upgrades. We get Wisconsin with the wheel, and we're going to go with that offensive line. We're going to go with Jack Nelson. Boost our offense up to a 77 overall. We're an 81, but we do finish 7-6, a disappointing year. The passing attack, once again, could use a little bit of help. Rushing attack is the feature. Feels like the upgrade in the offensive line was a tremendous help. The defense looks all right. We spin the wheel again and we get Minnesota, and there's a couple options. We could go defense and get Tyler Nubin, but our secondary appears to be just fine, so we'll go with Brevin Span forward. Offense is up to a 79, and we're up to an 81 overall, but we finish 8-6. Passing attack is still horrendous. The rushing attack is carrying our team. Brevin Span forward has a solid year, and the rushing attack, again, is the feature of this team. Defense appears to be just fine once again. Back to the wheel, and we get the USC Trojans. Feels like we have to take Caleb Williams at this point. Upgrades our offense all the way up to an 88 overall, and we're going to see how much Caleb Williams affects this team. Caleb Williams from the jump makes a big impact for Nebraska. We see that on the first play to Alex Bullock, and we see him punch it in for a touchdown. Again, the pressure from the offensive line is not helping, but when you have a guy like Caleb Williams, you're able to do a lot of exciting things. Rolling out to the right here, and we find a receiver downfield throwing an absolute dart to Marcus Washington, who almost gets in, but later we find a receiver downfield to make it a 14-0 lead. Again, Caleb Williams, his legs are the star of this show, and it's a big reason why Nebraska gets off to a good start. His agility, his quickness, his speed are really what makes the difference here. And you think that we'd be able to put up a ton of points against everybody. At least we get to do that against Washington. You see another big run. A big play after big play was the theme of this game, thanks to Caleb Williams and his ability to make big plays and put the ball into the end zone gives Nebraska a big win to start the season. And we get an opportunity to face the number 3 Michigan Wolverines about halfway through the season. Our offensive line struggles early on against Michigan, can't get the running game going, can't protect Caleb Williams, and Michigan's offense itself is trying to get going, and we do get an interception to give us some momentum down 7-0. Can't do anything with it, and then the lack of tackling, the tackling struggles emerge. We see a lot of missed tackles, a lot of big plays for the Michigan Wolverines, a lot of gaping holes for guys like Blake Corum to run through, and J.J. McCarthy gets them back on the board for a 14-0 lead. Again, the tackling, this is just embarrassing. The inability to bring J.J. McCarthy down gives Michigan an even bigger lead, and the defense just wasn't up for the task. Neither was the offense, as Michigan comes away with a big 44-16 win. As if the tackling wasn't bad enough, we face Penn State, and Nicholas Singleton puts on a highlight reel run, breaking multiple tackles and making a bunch of other guys miss. Some poor tackling once again by the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and Penn State's offense gets on the board early. Drew Aller adds to that embarrassment by absolutely destroying this defense, almost scoring a touchdown there, and Penn State is really dominating early on. The defense does get a fumble return for a touchdown, which gives them some life, but ultimately it's not going to be enough. It's a nice little play, but in the end, Penn State is going to take this one in commanding fashion, 55-27. We do make it to the Big Ten championship game, perks of playing in the Big Ten West, and it's more of the same. More or less, you're going to see a lack of tackling, a lack of defense, and Michigan absolutely dominates us once again. So we do break some school records, finish the year with a solid record for our team, but ultimately it's not enough. The next 2 seasons actually went pretty similarly. We did add Alabama's Dallas Turner and Oregon State's Talise Fuaga, and we kind of saw the same fate. The offense and the defense both get upgrades, and it's been really fun to watch Dallas Turner play. He's an instant upgrade for the defense. The defense looked really good against UCLA, and the offense is be able to create big running lanes for Caleb Williams, who again is making big plays. And ultimately, we look pretty good. It just feels like we're missing a piece or two. We do make it all the way through this season to a Big Ten title game appearance. Once again, perks of playing in the Big Ten West when everybody is pretty poor. If you add enough superstar power, you should get to the Big Ten championship, all the way up to number 5 in the country, facing the number 1 Ohio State Buckeyes. And if you thought for some reason that was going to make things different, you thought wrong. Ohio State takes it to Nebraska early. They are making Nebraska look really bad in terms of tackling, missed tackles, broken tackles, and missed tackles again. Give Ohio State a lead early on. Our rushing attack can't really get anything going. And Ohio State from here is just going to pile on the points. It's an absolute blitz of points, and Nebraska just does not have an answer. They have no ability to stop a guy like Travion Henderson, and this one is getting ugly from the get-go. Again, we are right there. It feels like we need just a couple pieces, maybe even just one wide receiver that could open things up. That would be huge. That passing attack could really take a step forward. The defense obviously needs to fix the missed tackles, but they have some disruptive players as well. A surprising team on the wheel is Louisiana Tech, but when you have a guy like Smoke Harris, a big-time playmaker for the Bulldogs, it's kind of hard to ignore. Does bolster our offense to a 91 overall. He's also an electric returner, which we get to see early in the season against Southern Miss. We see him take this kick return down the right side. His speed automatically jumps out on film, and it's a big way to start the season. Getting the offense going as well. He's able to make a big catch after big catch for this team, and it's really opening up the passing attack for Caleb Williams and the rest of the receivers. The offense looks like it has some balance, and the first game goes our way in really good fashion. I think that this is a great addition for this offense, something that's going to help them become more balanced and give us a big win. Kind of the theme of the video, you have to beat Michigan and or Ohio State and or Penn State in order to win a national championship. And we get our opportunity to face the number 1 Michigan Wolverines. Caleb Williams gets to work right off the bat, and he's making some nice, comfortable throws to get the game started. The running ability as well has been huge, and Michigan also adds some points to make it 7-3 Nebraska. Williams getting back to work once again, rolling out to the right. He's got a guy wide open down the right side of the field. It's Billy Kemp. He's been the reliable playmaker for this passing attack, and he makes a big touchdown for 87 yards. 14-3. Michigan does not go away, though, as Blake Corum goes on the right side. Again, this gap integrity by Nebraska is continuing to be a problem. It could hinder our ability to win a national championship, but Caleb Williams, the offense, are going to do everything they can to give them a chance. And Nebraska just simply cannot cover Cornelius Johnson. Nebraska is going to shrink or see that lead shrink to 4. But again, the offense is doing everything in its power. This addition of Smoke Harris has been one of the better additions in this video. JJ McCarthy, though, keeps this game close. 28-24 going in late in the first half, and we throw an interception. That is not a good decision by Caleb Williams, and Michigan is actually going to take this all the way back for a touchdown. This is not a good way to end the first half. All the momentum that Nebraska had is gone. They take a lead into halftime. Caleb Williams also adds another bad decision here, another interception, and Will Johnson is not able to return it, but Michigan does have the lead at halftime. Caleb Williams shakes off a rough end to his first half, and he gets the scoring going here with a nice pass to Smoke Harris to give Nebraska the lead. They get a stop and add another touchdown to give them an even bigger lead. Joshua Fleeks with that rushing touchdown there. JJ McCarthy and Michigan don't go away, though. They put up another touchdown on a horrendous secondary for Nebraska, but Nebraska's offense would not be denied. 49-37. Michigan, again, not going away, but Nebraska does find a way to recover this onside kick. A little bit of a heart stopper there, and ultimately we get the 49-44 win. Just like we said, you have to beat Michigan, you have to beat Penn State, and you have to beat Ohio State. Here, Penn State is doing everything in its power to, make us look dumb. And so far, Nicholas Singleton has our number, making us look absolutely ridiculous. Keep Penn State close in this game. Caleb Williams, though, and the offense continue to hit their stride, continue to put up points. And Caleb Williams' dual threat abilities is really what helps us in this game. 31-14 lead, and Penn State is going to shrink that lead a little bit here. Caleb Williams then throws a poor pass over the middle, and then Nicholas Singleton decides to go all LeBron James on us, again, making us look horrendous on defense. The inability to tackle Nicholas Singleton, he's our kryptonite. He simply will not be denied. and thankfully, we hopefully won't have to see him much more in this video. We are up by 3. We throw an interception. Caleb Williams makes a bad decision. Kalen King picks it off. And our defense, though, is not going to help us. And Penn State actually takes the lead 35-31 in the fourth quarter. Caleb Williams, though, makes a nice throw over the middle to Brevin Spanford. Haven't had said his name in a little bit. And the rushing attack is getting things going. Any fumbles, this could be a problem. This could be a major issue. There is a challenge on the play. We'll see if Anthony Grant actually fumbled. It looks like his knee was down, and the call is actually reversed. From there, Nebraska is able to pound it on the ground, and Caleb Williams picking up good chunky yards on a fourth down, and they're able to punch in later for the go-ahead score, ultimately giving Nebraska the win in this big game. We skip Ohio State for a rematch of the Michigan game, and right off the bat, Caleb Williams is making his presence known with a big-time run to get Nebraska on the scoreboard, up 7-0 early on. This was a back and forth game. It was score after score. Michigan and Nebraska traded scores, and it was a shootout from the beginning. Caleb Williams and JJ McCarthy were throwing absolute dimes, throwing some nice passes to the receivers, and like I said, points were coming aplenty in this first half. Even in the second half is where things carried over, and Nebraska finds themselves up 35-31 in the fourth quarter. Blake Corum adds a touchdown, though, to give Michigan the lead late in the fourth. Nebraska gives the ball back to their star quarterback, and right off the bat, he finds Billy Kemp down the left side. His legs also are a highlight, throws a nice laser to Marcus Washington, kind of an unsung hero in this game, and later they punched it in with 14 seconds to give them the go-ahead lead, and a final Hail Mary attempt is ultimately knocked down for a Big Ten championship. That puts us in the national championship game against the Clemson Tigers. We'll see if we can come away with a title, and right off the bat, Clemson is going to get the scoring started. Will Shipley runs it in there, but Nebraska responds to tie it up. Later, we get the ball back, and Caleb Williams once again finding Brevin Spanford across the middle, 14-7. Clemson adds a field goal to make it 14-10, and Nebraska gets right back to work, adding another touchdown to give them a 21-10 lead. 21-17 lead is extended with a nice run by Anthony Grant for a touchdown, and once again, Clemson adds another field goal to keep it a one-score game. Nebraska does add a touchdown here to make it 35-20, and it feels like a comfortable lead, but Caleb Williams makes a terrible mistake throwing an interception to Nate Wiggins, who's going to bring this back all the way for a touchdown to make it once again a one-score game. Caleb Williams is looking deep but gets hit and cannot get the ball down the field, and Clemson responds to tie this game up at 35. The ensuing kickoff, though, this is why you bring Smoke Harris to Nebraska. This is why you add him to your team. His kick return abilities give Nebraska some great field position almost into Clemson territory with 55 seconds left. Caleb Williams from there does a lot of the work. A nice dime down the middle, absolute laser. And Anthony Grant is making up for his previous mistakes with some solid running. Caleb Williams, though, the star of the show, almost makes it into the end zone, and later he does punch it in for a big touchdown there, which ultimately gives us the national championship win. A little bit quicker video, less superstars needed for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Let me know who you want to see in the next video.